Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
Corum again. This time he bounces it. He's got the first down and more. Corum inside the 5. Spins his way across the goal line. Touchdown, Michigan!
It just means everything. All the hardships that we went through as a team and as a brotherhood made us unbreakable. In the biggest moments, we were going to show up.
I think he's leaving. All week long, he dodged that question. He gave word salad answers. I mean, all he had to say was, man, I love this team. I wouldn't leave this team for anything. What you would expect a coach to say, by the way, before the national championship game. He didn't say that at all.
Penix back to pass with time. Throwing end zone. Caught Jalen McMillan. Touchdown, Washington.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate this win. You know, we're going to have a quick turnaround. You got to be ready for the national championship. We're going to be playing a good team. That's the thing about us. You know, I feel like each and every player on this team, you know, we fell in love with the process.
Mahomes looks to the left side. Cincinnati fires back in the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Probably did a good job letting the game come to us and not trying to do too much. Harrison Butker, he saved us, man. He knocked through, I think, 6 field goals. And when you have a defense like that shutting the door, man, I mean, that's how you got to win a football game.
Zappe in the shotgun. Fires quickly, and it's picked off! Rasul Douglas at the 40, on his feet, to the 30, down to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Lamar with time, coming deep, looking for Flowers. He's got him open at the Miami 30. Makes the catch. He's to the 20. Cuts back to the 15. Slip cut of a tackle. Zay Flowers. Touchdown, Ravens.
It was very important. We had a lot of guys banged up, you know, the injuries, guys who couldn't play. We had guys who stepped up, knew the situation, and they played lights out, all phases. We all knew it was important for us to get this win, and we did just that.
And welcome on into 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM for Sports Day. Aaron Clark filling in for Steve Webster here, and welcome into the 2024 edition of Sports Day. Fellas, excited to be here. I'm excited because now for the rest of the year, the entirety of 2024, I get to say I hosted the first Sports Day.
So it will either be all downhill from here or all uphill.
Exactly.
So it's all on your shoulders, man.
Everything that gets built off of this year from here is off of this show. So you know it's at least going to be tall. That's what we can say.
Well, as long as you're around, it'll be tall. No question.
I am filling in for Steve Webster, and so I am joined across from me. It's Mike Corson, Mike Hesher, and Landon Winkler holding it down, making sure none of the fires are going, making sure everything gets put out properly. Landon, how are you doing today? I'm excited. I always like when we get Landon in here, get the Landon perspective.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
All right, well, we're going to make sure we get rolling, try to...
That's all he has to say. I'm doing good?
I was going to say,
Come on, Landon.
Right before this, he was like, when I get included, and so I try to make sure we include him, and then that's what we get. Happy to have you here anyway, Landon. We have a great show coming up for you guys. It's going to be our usual Tuesday guest slate. We'll have Cole Reif coming along. Then we'll also get a little bit of some ESPN action coming your way as we'll have the post-game press conference with the Washington head coach, Kalen DeBoer. Washington coming off of a 37-31 victory over Texas. Me and the boys, we'll hit on that a little bit later when we recap the college football playoff. But first, we'll have our sounds of the past 24 hours, sports headlines. I'd like to remind everyone that Sports Day is brought to you by the American Plains Co-op Fuel Department, your certified Cenex lubricant dealer in Great Bend, along with the Cougar Booster Club, the Barton Cougar Booster Club, continuing their efforts to make the Barton Athletic Department the best in the country. Moving it right into our sounds of the past 24 hours. Got to hear the call on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM as a Michigan running back Blake Corum scores on the second play of overtime to give the Wolverines a 27-20 advantage before the Alabama offense. They'd come up short. The Michigan defense stands tall. Jim Harbaugh's squad headed to the college championship. They got their first win in the college football playoff last night. They've been there a few times. Last year, most notably, 51-45 loss at the hands of TCU. Fun game last night.
Almost before I almost picked Alabama. I was going to go change my pick. I think I picked Michigan, which I did. But it's Michigan, it's playoffs, and it's Alabama, it's playoffs. So I almost switched. Tune into that one late because I didn't really care about that one. There's Alabama in the lead. So not only did Michigan win, they won clutch. You got the late score, then put them in a really hard spot pretty early in that overtime.
So who did you pick to win that game? Like, who was your actual bowl pick'em?
Michigan.
So you got a full 6 points off the national championship game because 3 points for correctly picking that game. 3 points for correctly. I assume you picked Washington.
Correct.
I was just making that assumption, I suppose.
And that was some bonus points because we'll get there, but a lot of people picked Texas.
Absolutely. And so we'll talk more about both of these games a little bit later. We'll have our own little segment after you've heard from Kalen DeBoer and had a little more time just to digest that. But moving into our sounds of the past 24 hours, you heard Paul Feinbaum talking about he's not sure if J.J. McCarthy's going to be there, or not J.J. McCarthy, but rather Jim Harbaugh. Sorry, got two different Michigan guys on my mind there. But he's not sure Jim Harbaugh is going to be there next year. He's got kind of dodging some questions about the NFL all week leading up to the game. Not quite saying the things you'd expect a head coach who's potentially coaching for a national championship to be saying.
And they were talking before the game. He does have his issues with administration at Michigan. They did have his back the one time, but I think this is about the third time. Or he got suspended twice this year, so maybe there's not the best of blood between him and the administration. So the fact that maybe some NFL teams are calling, it's kind of a twofer. And you also have a lot of the college coaches will go up to the NFL, kind of flame out. Jim Harbaugh was in the Super Bowl once, so he's actually kind of tried and tested at that level as well.
And I think that's kind of comes full circle with your whole point, because that comes back around to how Jim Harbaugh can kind of grind on people. He was pretty successful in the NFL, but just him and the head brass there in San Francisco didn't quite mesh. They didn't quite see eye to eye. They kind of got into some scraps that resulted in him being outed in San Francisco. Could be fun to see him come in, take over a team that needs kind of a stern captain at the ship. I don't know. Takes a special personality, some special players to be able to play under Harbaugh. He's had some shots. It's going to be a fun offseason, fun rumor mill. Be even more fun if the Wolverines go on to win the Natty.
And maybe even more fun, one of the rumored teams with some connections, Chargers. So get him in the AFC West.
And who is Paul Feinbaum? Why are we listening to him? He's from the Southeast Conference.
He's ESPN's.
I realize.
He's just upset that.
And he likes to chat a lot, doesn't he? He likes to stir up trouble.
But he likes to get under Nick Saban's skin, which I like him for.
And he's a pretty well-connected guy generally at ESPN,
I know.
but I did think it was funny that the SEC guy is, well, their team's not even going to have their coach anyway.
But if you look at the coach's personality, like you got Mike Leach, he rubs some feathers the wrong way. But when Nick Saban was on the Saturday morning shows, you would never guess that guy is a top-tier football coach versus a Harbaugh who's got funny comments. He's got some personality. Off the sideline, Saban he's not as bad as Belichick, but it's interesting.
That's what I was
going
to point to. I feel like there's always those coaches who just don't want anything really to do with the media. Like right now, Bill Belichick is like the big poignant one in the NFL, and Saban's probably the head of that coalition in college.
And I thought maybe Saban went overboard with the protecting the team stuff heading in the whole week. But one of the players said it was actually good for the team. They weren't in their rooms looking at film on their own iPads. They were all in the room together. They got to digest stuff. So it was kind of an interesting take on a weird situation that the players, whether they liked it or not, turned it into a positive publicly.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because I heard about that, some of the film restrictions that Alabama was putting on how their players are watching film and where and what they could be watching on just to ensure nothing got stolen. I don't know. Maybe Michigan didn't need it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Moving along in our sounds of the past 24 hours. Also heard the call from KVGB of the Washington and Texas game. It's Washington's Michael Penix Jr. completing a 19-yard pass to Jalen McMillan, putting the Huskies up 28-21. Bit of a back-and-forth second half as Texas, they would try to rally, wouldn't be able to complete the rally in full, but the Huskies, they're moving on. So we're going to have to put a restriction. Can't go too crazy on the Huskies here, but should feel pretty good for Corson to see the Washington Huskies in the national title.
You get 45 seconds. You get 45 seconds.
I was going to say, this feels funny being on this end of it, like being the leash holder rather than the dog.
So what's not being necessarily talked about, the boneheaded call Sark made, and I get it, everybody's expecting to throw to the end zone, you run out of time, no timeouts, but you throw it into the flat, if he gets tackled in bounds, it's game over. He takes a 1-yard loss, he did get out of bounds. But that really, it took away a chance to go to the end zone. And then the other one, I thought Manning started warming up. I thought probably Ewers got concussed when he smacked his head on the ground. And they say, well, he walked it off and convinced everybody he was fine. I thought we had third parties for that The kids won't protect themselves.
There's definitely third parties in the NFL. I'm not sure if there's third party like that in college. I would assume there is, but I'm not sure.
Even more liability.
Yeah, the word convinced. He convinced him that he was okay. That doesn't sound good.
That doesn't sound like you shouldn't be able to convince someone you don't have a. My understanding was you shouldn't be able to convince someone you don't have a concussion.
I agree.
But Penix was second in the Heisman voting. You want to see those players perform at the biggest stage. He was 18 of 21 for 330 and 2. I think that maybe early second half of that. So got what you wanted out of Penix. And for the record, I wouldn't have voted for him for Heisman. I would have went Jalen Daniels.
I've seen kind of that, a little bit of that going around, like, well, he should have been the Heisman. Like,
solid numbers, but Daniels was tough.
Daniels was tough, had the good numbers. Granted, wasn't playing in a conference championship to put up the dud that Penix did against the Oregon Ducks. But I don't know. I still think Daniels earned the Heisman this year, and
And I would have thrown in Azune as another Heisman candidate. The kid is exceptional.
He's good. They've got some very good wide receivers there in Washington. The Polk's very good, and then McMillan, who caught that 19-yard touchdown, showed a nice set of hands. Fun title matchup now. No SEC.
Yes.
Just feels good. You know, it's just
absolutely does.
It's just two Big Ten powers.
And I think you also have kind of the versus styles of play, whereas Washington's maybe a little high-flying Pac-12. Michigan strikes me as kind of an old-fashioned grinder physical team. So it's actually tough to pick against Michigan, and I wouldn't. But
we can talk about that a little bit more later as well. But Michigan, they kind of were able to prove, like, they had to come in with a little bit of some rattling about, oh, their schedule, they played the Big Ten. And, yeah, they played who they had to play. They showed their defense is legit. 6 sacks against Jalen Milroe. Most the Crimson Tide quarterback was sacked this year. But that goes back. We'll be moving along in our sounds of the past 24 hours. We'll talk a little bit more about both of those college games after I chat with Cole Reif and we hear from Kalen DeBoer, head coach of the Washington Huskies. That interview coming up in just a little bit. But moving on in the sounds of the past 24 hours to the NFL, where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are able to get back in the win column. Kansas City wins 25-17 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Wasn't the prettiest win. I'm pretty sure they scored their only touchdown of that ball game in the first quarter. Other than that, it was 6 field goals. Harrison Butker's leg, pretty good. You got to wonder, would he still be perfect had the balls been properly inflated a couple weeks ago? I'm just saying, there's that one miss on his record. It's going to haunt him, especially. This is a good night. 6 for 6 for a kicker. I remember not too long ago when the Chiefs lost a playoff game to the Steelers when the Steelers only kicked field goals.
It happens.
It can happen. You got to be able to make them in the postseason, too.
And we saw last year most of those games were decided by kicks. So I said a few weeks back, Dallas has an exceptional kicker, it seems like. Baltimore, obviously. So you never see, when he misses your first one this late in the year, it's kind of, uh-oh, here we go again. But good to see him rebound and basically put that one on his back. I would say we've seen the trend, celebrities in the box. Who started calling Harrison Butker on Monday? Dua Lipa. I'm putting Dua Lipa in the box.
Maybe. I don't. Is that the next biggest pop star you could think of, or is that just the next highest on your list?
Yeah.
There you go. You just want to go to a Chiefs game and be able to see Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa. That's take your camera and see if you can't snag a nice shot of the press box with both of them in there. Yeah, of course.
But that's how the Chiefs are going to have to win, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The offense is no longer what it was. They're going to have to rely on defense and, Patrick Mahomes not turning the ball over, as Steve Webster would say.
I was having a conversation with my brothers over the New Year's kind of holiday break, whatever you want to call it. The Chiefs did kind of draft planning for this to happen. They drafted guys like George Karlaftis, like Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, all those guys on the defensive side of the ball. They drafted them a couple years ago, and now they're coming into their prime, really coming into their element, filling roles that need to be filled to make a good defense. And it's paying dividends because that defense, that side of the ball, that's keeping them in ball games, to keep them competitive here down the stretch.
And let's not forget Joe Burrow was not playing, and it was still close. That's a little scary. That defense came up really huge late, so I don't know if there was a switch or why all of a sudden they were so successful, but hopefully they got through every time, about 6 plays in a row. And then the Butker deal, I don't think it's a bad deal. If you're settling for 3 points most times down, that sure beats a punt or something. So even if you're not cracking the goal line, take the 3 points.
Points on the board.
They add up.
Never turn down points.
I don't know if you guys had these discussions with your friends when you were in school, but there's like a line of how far back can a kicker go before you take him number 1 overall. Like, if you can guarantee that he makes a field goal from 60 yards, is that a number 1 overall pick? I think, like, I had one friend who would move it back to 80. That's where they had to be. I was like, if you can guarantee a kicker can make a kick from, like, a 70-yard field goal, that's a number 1 overall pick, because that is at least 3 points every drive. Like, you're telling me you can't get to the 30? Or I guess what would be your own 40? Like, that's a fair catch plus 15 yards, and you got 3 points.
And the day's going to come, because look at them now. They do 50-yarders without even thinking.
And in the warm-ups, they're moving it back even further.
I know.
60
so it's,
plus.
Yeah. Okay.
You also heard from Patrick Mahomes. He knows it. He knows who's buttering his bread right now. It's the kicking game. It's the defense keeping them alive. He just has to keep the offense
not turning the ball over.
Exactly. Moving in the right direction. Baby steps. They don't need explosive plays yet. Just don't give it away. It's what we're working for.
And what about Pacheco? I mean, that's...
Yep, nice play
game
from him.
Yep.
A little bit of a receiving weapon there.
Yeah.
Not quite what I usually expect from him, but fun to see it from him. And now, Chiefs 10-6 heading into their final game of the season. Yeah, looking at that. We've got someone whose prediction is alive.
So close.
the one more game, if they can beat the Easton Stick-led Los Angeles Chargers, Mike Hescher's prediction will land on the head. 17 games. That's pretty impressive to predict 17 games.
The
That's
fact
crazy.
that he's the only one, I suppose, makes it more impressive.
I've already got my Royals prediction down for next year. So
there you go, ready, locked, and loaded.
162.
Yeah, whatever. 1-61, 1-161. I thought.
Something.
Okay, all right.
Churning along in our sounds of the past 24 hours. You heard the call on WGR's Rasul Douglas, Buffalo cornerback. They acquired him in a trade at the deadline, I believe, from the Packers. Gets a pick six, goes 40 yards against Bailey Zappi. Buffalo wins 27-21 against the Patriots. Not as close as that final score indicates, as they held a 20-7 lead early in that game. So the Bills, they've won 4 in a row, a win over the Chiefs in that span as well, setting up winner takes all scenario in the final week of the season with the Miami Dolphins. It's a crazy scenario for the Bills. They win this final week, AFC East champions.
Number 2 seed, too.
Number
right?
2 seed.
Right.
They lose, out of the playoffs, because they don't have tie breaks against the Jaguars and the Steelers. And so it is very...
I didn't know. That's crazy.
It's very bad. It is a very do or die for the Buffalo Bills.
And Miami is in, which would beg the question, I don't know what the seeding would do, but do they go 100%?
That's the question with a division rival. There's a couple of those going around now with how some games fell. The 49ers, they already have the number 1 seed clinched in the NFC by loss to the Eagles, loss to the Arizona Cardinals. That makes the Rams game against them next week a lot easier. Los Angeles still fighting for a playoff spot, but that's NFC stuff. We don't have to get into that too
And what
much.
do the Chiefs do? They're the number 3 seed. Do they play them next week, or do they rest them?
Especially with
Kelsey looking for 1,000 yards for the 8th or 9th year in a row.
I believe so.
Something like that.
I think it's just only him and Greg Olsen who have even ever put back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons up as tight ends.
Okay.
And so for Kelsey to do it 8 times in a row, unfathomable as a tight end there.
No Gates or
I might be wrong. I might be thinking of after a certain year, too, because that was kind of my thought when I saw that stat. So I'll have to go back and investigate that one because it sounded a little cloudy. I'll have that update coming up here in a little bit as well. But rounding out our sounds of the past 24 hours, you heard from WBAL, Zay Flowers catches a 75-yard pass from Lamar Jackson, puts the Ravens up 21-13 against the Dolphins. That game turning into a rout. Baltimore comes away with a 56-19 win. Statement victory. Couple of people been around saying, oh, the Baltimore Ravens, they're not legit. They're no concern. I don't know. They shut down I don't know who that could be. It's crazy. They shut down a very explosive offense, a very talented team. You saw him doing excellent work against Tyreek Hill, making it hard for him to get those catch and run opportunities, also making it hard for him to catch the ball. He looked like he could have fit in with the Chiefs wide receivers in that game, dropping him a little bit.
Yeah, and even talking to some diehard Chiefs fans, they say this is Baltimore's to lose. So we hope that whoever random person you were talking about is correct and they're going to falter in the playoffs, or might not be a very fun Super Bowl.
And you heard from Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson. They knew they were playing for the number 1 seed. They had some guys who were banged up this week, not feeling their best, but they knew if they win, it's a lot easier once you get that first week bye here in 2 weeks.
They also had the number 1 seed 4 or 5 years ago. the Baltimore Ravens did,
That
and they
is-
lost, and the Chiefs, that's how the Chiefs got home field advantage that one year.
That is true. I believe going into that game, Lamar was banged up though.
Oh, okay.
That's the big thing that still
He seems to
stands
be
out.
healthy.
He hasn't had a whole lot of banged up injuries throughout the season. That's the thing that kind of stands out. He's just been very much healthier and a overall healthier Ravens roster too on our team that's been kind of decimated in years past.
The home team is kind of fun. You never know what the weather's going to be in Baltimore that time of year, so could be wet, should be cold, but definitely could be a factor.
And other scores in the NFL included Denver picking up a 16-9 win over the Chargers, San Francisco getting a 27-10 win over the Washington Commanders that secured the NFC's #1 seed for them, and Dallas getting a 20-19 victory over Detroit in dramatic, controversial fashion. We can hit on that a little bit later too, but coming up next, we'll have Cole Reif in studio. We're going to preview some Barton basketball as well as look at the semifinal games played last night. Don't go anywhere. We'll have more Sports Day coming up. Sports Day brought to you by Advanced Therapy and Sports Medicine. Get your life back. We'll have more Sports Day coming up right after this.
Love your phone but tired of your current provider? Bring your device to Next Tech Wireless and experience wireless built by Kansans for Kansans. For a limited time, get 4 lines with unlimited data for $100. Have questions? Call or text our local customer care team at 877-621-2600. Next Tech Wireless. Home on the range.
If you need physical therapy, consider Advanced Therapy in Great Bend and Progressive Therapy in Larned and Hayes.
There's nothing like A-STEM therapy. This is Tim Marcus from Progressive Physical Therapy in Hayes. Research shows A-STEM therapy improves muscle performance and neural functioning. It's highly effective for those dealing with tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, sports injuries, and general aches and pains.
You don't need to hurt. Physical therapy can help. Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Amy Herrera, Regional Retail Manager for your local Equity Bank. As someone who lives here, I know many of you and I know what's important to you. I've been in the industry a long time and I've helped many people navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people. I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you how we're committed to serving you in our communities. At Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
He's the voice of Hoisington High School football, the Barton County Cougars, and the king of the tweeter machine. It's Cole Reif on Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
And welcome on back into Sports Day here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Aaron Clark filling in for Steve Webster. Cole Reif joining us in studio. Excited to talk to you, Cole, but first going to remind the people that Sports Day is brought to you by Marmies at the 10th Street, on 10th Street in Great Bend, excuse me there. Also by Eller Automotive Repair, a local mechanic that can help behind Great Bend Appliance Furniture and Sleep Source. New year, new look for the Barton Cougars. But first, Cole, have a good New Year, man. I saw you were having to compete with some pretty rowdy guys, a couple who couldn't control their drinking maybe.
Yeah, my New Year's Eve parties have changed over the years. But yeah, we had a 6-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. They got some Welch's fine, I think it's like grape juice basically is what it is. But it comes in a fancy bottle, so they're pretty excited about that. But yeah, my New Year's Eve plans were pretty lame. I think I did not see the ball drop by any means. I think I was in bed by 10:30. That was probably the max. So
not a bad way to ring in the new year.
It's probably different from yours. What was your celebration?
Just a little bit. I actually didn't do anything too crazy on New Year's Eve. I stayed in with the family a little bit. My sister just had a baby.
Okay.
And, so that came over. Always fun to get to torment a baby a little bit, give her a hard time, and then when she starts to cry, just hand her off. You know, it's the best part about being an uncle. Got to watch some football though. That was
that was a nice thing.
Best part about my holiday. We can chat about that a little later, but I'm excited to hear about what the Barton Cougars have going on.
Yeah, I mean they get started up again tomorrow night, so they'll be back at it with home games against Coffeyville. The women's team on the women's side, Coffeyville's still ranked in the top 25. They brought back a slew of sophomores, a ton of sophomores from last year's team that made it to the Region 6 championship that lost to Barton in that title game. But, they bring back some really good shooters. Bailey Lehman, Ortiz is back. Their point guard is back. And then brought in a pretty good transfer as well. So, yeah, they're loaded. I mean, that Coffeyville team is really, really loaded. So I think that'll be a fun one. But I think what we saw from the Barton women at the end of the year, I mean, they finished the first semester at 9-3, but I thought they kind of gained some momentum even after that Butler loss and kind of showed that they could play with anybody by making that run in El Dorado. I think that gave them some confidence. So I'm excited to see if they can kind of pick that up. Because, I mean, the break happens and, your college kids and your 18, 19-year-old, girls and guys, and, this stuff can happen over the break. So, I don't worry about it too much as far as staying in shape, but usually that first game back's kind of rough, on both sides. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens Wednesday night, but, man, you talk about a way to really that could be a huge boost going into a pretty tough stretch on their schedule. They have Hutchinson coming up. They have Dodge City coming up, and then obviously Coffeyville tomorrow night. So that'll be a big stretch for the Cougars. Then on the men's side, I mean, this Coffeyville team that's 7-5. They've had their struggles, but they've missed some stat. Still a team that's really, really good, and obviously Jay Herkelman, garners a lot of respect, and rightfully so. So you always kind of respect his programs when they come in. They're well coached, and yeah, I think it's a good matchup to start out the year and see what you got after being off for the last 3 or so weeks.
It's always fun to see how the kids come back. Like you said, after that break, they gotta get back into game shape there because they're doing the running and the workouts that they get sent back, but nothing can quite prepare you for the game atmosphere. Tough one kind of starting on the road, going to Coffeyville for them. It's going to be a long trip for the Cougars.
Well, they get that at home. They get that at home tomorrow night.
Yeah, my mistake.
And then they'll have Saturday off, and then the women have a non-conference game Saturday. Just a women's only game Saturday at 2 o'clock, and then they'll be on the road, I think, next Wednesday. I think they go to Garden City. But, yeah, I mean, I've talked to, various coaches about, how they handle Christmas breaks. And some of them give them game plans. They might give, like, individual workouts. And I know some coaches check in and, or they have to report to them, either text them or some online app or whatever to make sure, you did your 2-mile run or whatever it may be. But, I don't know, the severity of that, I think has kind of gone out the window. You probably give them a game plan. Hey, make sure you do this. Go get some shots. Get to the gym a few times. Get some shots up or whatever. But for the most part, you want them to have fun. I mean, like, again, like they're 18, 19-year-old kids. Like, go have fun. Be with your family. See your friends. Blah, blah, blah. If you can play some pickup games, that's fine. But the nice thing about it is, I mean, they're back. They're already back. They've been back probably for the last week or so for most of the teams. So, they were back last week and, kind of getting in the swing of things. But, yeah, I always thought that was nice. And I think coaches always mention it, too, where, there's nothing better if you're a college kid and the only thing you have to focus on is basketball or whatever sport you're playing. Like, you don't have to worry about, school's not back in session, so you're not worried about homework. You're not worried about going to classes or tests or anything like that. All you have to worry about is basketball. So this is kind of a fun time of the year.
Looking at the Barton Lady Cougars, they've been led by a couple of gals who came into the year a little raw, not necessarily having a ton of basketball experience. What can you tell me about the Lady Cougars squad heading into 2024?
Yeah, you look at Vivian and Vera, especially Vivian. I mean, she's now the leading rebounder. She was always kind of competing with Vera, but now Vivian, you look at her numbers. Like, she started the last 7 games of conference, so the last 7 games of the year in 2023, all conference games, had 78 rebounds in those 7 starts, so averaging 11 rebounds per game as a starter, 5 double-doubles, 6 straight games with 11-plus rebounds, 8 overall so far. She's now the number 4 rebounder in the conference. She's ranked 23rd in the country. And then you have Vera that's right behind her at 9 rebounds per game. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, so far, I haven't seen everybody yet. But so far, I mean, nobody has that kind of 1-2 down low like Barton has. I mean, there's some good post players and players that can score, but they're kind of more perimeter oriented. There's not too many like Vivian Vera. So that provides Barton a nice a punch that not too many teams have. But, those two, we saw against, better competition like Butler. They had a better game plan against those two. They made it a little bit more difficult. So, as they face some of the tougher teams, and Coffeyville will be a really good defensive team under Coach Turner, will those two have the same success? I don't know. But what's nice about it is okay, hey, we got a game plan for Vera. Boom, she flips it across the lane. There's Vivian. So that's what's kind of nice. Is it's hard to take away 2. So, and now you're starting to get a little bit more consistent guard play. Contributions from Grace John, Kazia Bertoni, and then Tatum Betcher's doing her thing. So it's not a deep team by any means. They don't go deep off the bench, but that starting 5 is starting to find some rhythm.
That's something that impressed me early in the season. Obviously, I have a bit of a biased perspective because I got to see Kezia drop a program high in assists for Barton. But when she's on, she seems to be really, really able to dime it out there. Grace John right there with her, too. Saw both of those gals throw out some pretty passes early in this Barton season.
Yeah, still number 1, I think number 3 now in assists in the Jayhawk Conference. Bertoni leads it with 6 assists per game. Then Grace John is averaging, if you round up, 6 assists per game as well. So, I mean, those two, scoring-wise, Grace John, she's now shooting 37% from outside. She's 5 for 8 from outside in the last 2 games. So if she can keep that, because that's what teams give her, right? I mean, they give her that open shot from outside. And if she can knock that down, that's pretty big. And Kezia is starting to turn into, a multi-dimensional player because obviously she has a, decent shot. She doesn't take a ton of threes. She's attempted less than 40 on the season, but she's starting to kind of hit that spot in the mid-range. She can get in the lane, and then obviously she's looking to dish as well, averaging 6 assists a game.
All right, Cole, so heading into 2024, what are you hoping to see from the Lady Cougars in terms of maybe something you didn't see in 2023?
Oh, man. I think just more consistently, I think on the glass, you got, Vera and Vivian on the glass, but maybe a little bit more guard play, getting there and hitting the glass. But I think the biggest thing right now is just showing consistency offensively. I mean, you look at their back-to-back wins against Northwest Tech. They put up 93 and they put up 77 at Seward County. So, they're scoring at a pretty high clip. They're averaging 73 a game, but, some of those games where, if you do take away Vivian and Vera, there's been struggles. Other teams that can match up maybe more man-to-man or cause pressure around the perimeter and not allow anything to set up down low. You kind of wonder, okay, where's the offense going to come from? So I think just more consistency out of that. And that's what kind of comes from that guard play. If those 3 guards can get things going and contribute, they don't have to have huge games, but if they can continue to contribute, 8, 9 points here and there, I think that's huge. If those guards can continue to develop, this team will be pretty good because, the posts are there. Nobody has Vivian and Vera. The posts are there. They're solid. But, if they continue to get stuff out of Grace, Kezia, and also, Tatum, they're going to be pretty salty.
All right, turn the page. Looking at the Barton men, they come in pretty hot to 2024. They've been a lot of fun to watch. High-flying action, got some dunks. LeJay Jones, he's been great so far this year. Tell me a little bit about your impressions of, or I guess he was great last year. Tell me a little bit about your impressions of the Barton men's team.
Yeah, if you look at Jones, I'm coming over from Tarleton State. Obviously leads the team in scoring and rebounding at 17 points, 9 rebounds a game, but he also leads the team in blocks. And he has that mindset. I talked to him after one of the games. I think it was probably after Northwest Tech, and he had a double-double. And he's just so serious and down to business. It just seems like he's such on a mission this year. And sometimes that happens when you get Division I transfers. They come back, and sometimes the mindset is, I'm a D1 guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to be here, or, I demand the ball. He's not like that. But at the same time, he's just so zeroed in on what he needs to accomplish. And, very straight-faced, I was like, hey, what are some of your individual goals? And he's like, I want to be Conference Player of the Year, and then I want to be National Player of the Year. That's pretty lofty goal to come out and say that, but he's so serious about it. And, and if you continue to lead a team in scoring and rebounding that's, on top of the conference, well, Cali's number 1 in the conference right now, but still one of the top conference teams in the Jayhawk. You're going to have a chance to do that. If you can, help maybe take a team to a national tournament, and, you're going to be in consideration of that. So, he's special. That's a special talent because it's not like we've seen guys in the past, especially early on when I started here, that were really flashy. Man, that guy can go put up, 32, on any night. He's just so good. LeJay is kind of that modest, casual, hey, I just put up 18 points and 11 rebounds type of guy, had a couple blocks, 2 steals, whatever. He just kind of goes about his business. So he's not going to overwhelm you, but he's just such a solid athlete, basketball athlete, that, he can break you down on the dribble. He can shoot it from outside. He can obviously get up and throw down some slams. So, he's just so overall good that just makes him really, really impressive.
Something that's really stood out about him is his chemistry with some of the teammates. Because this is his first year there, but he's still able to catch lobs, throw down some pretty nasty dunks, and still has some great camaraderie, great communication there. But that seems to be a theme throughout the team. It seems to be a very close group of guys who get along and know that they can hold each other accountable on the court.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing kind of a different role from, Mose and even Cooper a little bit offensively. I mean, they didn't need a ton out of Coop, what he provides defensively, but I think him and even, we haven't even seen Ring Malith, I think, really take off. And I think Ring has that ability. Obviously, Mose can shoot better. Not that he's been gun shy in the first half, but his role's just kind of changed as well. And when you're getting good play from coming off the bench with Drake Kendall, I don't want to say it puts pressure on Mose, but I mean at the same time, okay, if Mose's not going, you got Kendall coming right off the bench. So, all those guys, I kind of expect Mose to kind of pick it up in the second semester. And even with that, it's so weird to say. It's like he hasn't had maybe his best offensive performance, and yet Barton's 12-1, and he's a starting point guard. So, it's weird. It's like tugging on Superman's cape a little bit. It's like, well, why are you going to complain about this? You're 12-1. So they're finding other ways, and that's what's exciting about it is that they're winning, and I don't think they're even fully at their full strength.
They're a very deep team. You mentioned the Lady Cougars, not necessarily their biggest strength. The men, very deep. They get quality contributions from a lot of fellas. Heading into this season, I think expectations, hopes, they're pretty high for the Barton men. A lot of people thinking they could do pretty well. Tell me, what are you hoping to see from Coach Combs' squad?
Yeah, I mean, I think, ever since losing in the Region 6 championship game last year and then not getting an at-large bid for the national tournament, there's a little bit of chip on their shoulder. And you can say what you want, whether or not they should have got in or not. But, but when you bring back enough pieces like that from a team that went pretty far and, had a chance to get to the national tournament, there's obviously you come in with a mission. And, I think this year the goal is, and it's not going to be easy, but it's just, hey, let's take out any question whether or not we can get to the national tournament. Let's go out and win that dang thing, not lose in the Region 6 title game. So, yeah, I mean, it's a team that's out and trying to prove something, but, it's going to be good. I mean, Cali's really, really good. And Cali's gotten, nice road wins, here in Great Bend. They won at Hutchinson as well. So Cali's going to be tough. Still have to play Hutchinson. They're really solid again. Butler's obviously going to be there, but obviously the Cougars have a win already against the Grizzlies. So there's going to be some good, some bumps along the way, but this is the team that I think they're built to, they can win in a variety of ways. They can win ugly, but at the same time, they can blow some teams out. So I think that's what, those types of teams can kind of weather the storm even on nights that they don't really have it. So, yeah, good things ahead, I think, for Barton.
That is Cole Reif, voice of the Barton Cougars. Cole, when can we next catch you in action?
Tomorrow night. We'll be back on the air, 5:15 pregame show, and Barton will tip off against Coffeyville. Big game for the women, as we mentioned, a top 25 matchup with the Red Ravens. And then on the men's side, obviously, Cougar men are number 10 in the country, and Coffeyville, they might be a little bit healthier coming back. So we'll be on the air tomorrow night.
I'll be looking forward to seeing how they do and looking forward to hearing all your take on it next Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Cole Reif here on Sports Day. We'll have more of it coming your way right after this on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
Attention high school juniors. Explore your career paths at Barton Community College's Junior Day on February 14th. This fun and free day features an on-campus tour, giveaways, yard games, pizza, and did we mention $3,000 in scholarships will be up for grabs. Learn about a variety of career paths, some of which can get you into the workforce and making money in just one semester. Sign up online now through February 1st at juniorday.bartoncc.edu.
When it comes to car maintenance, it's good to know a local guy that can get things done. The Eller family has been in the auto repair business in Great Bend forever. Greg Eller continues that long tradition of helping people. Eller Automotive Repair specializes in wheel alignments, oil changes, and general maintenance for all makes and models of cars and small trucks. Open 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4 Fridays. Eller Automotive Repair at 915 Morton, right behind Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source, 10th and Morton.
Get the power you need for your farm equipment. The power of peace of mind that dependable Cenex lubricants deliver. With decades of proven off-road performance backed by the industry-leading Cenex Total Protection Plan warranty, Cenex heavy-duty diesel engine oils, hydraulic fluids, gear lubricants, and greases are formulated to provide superior protection for load-bearing equipment. The power you need to keep your business running like a well-oiled machine.
Contact American Plains Co-op Fuel Department in Great Bend, your certified Cenex distributor today.
Venture Corporation is a homegrown company with almost 50 years of experience in asphalt, paving, and construction, and they need equipment operators, mechanics, and CDL drivers. Venture offers many benefits, including 401k and Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. Call Leslie for all the details. Work for a family-owned and family-oriented company that is here today and will be here in the future. Venture Corporation, South Highway 281, Great Bend, is an equal opportunity employer.
Central and Western Kansas residents, are you looking for a new vehicle? Marmy Auto Group can make it happen. Marmy Auto Group includes Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep and Ram, Chevrolet, and GMC. Marmy Auto Group, your Central and Western Kansas dealer, has new and pre-owned vehicles, or we can special order your vehicle today. If your existing vehicle needs serviced, Marmy's award-winning service department can help. Come to Marmy Auto Group on 10th or marmys.net. Marmys, make it happen.
Hey everyone, this is Cole Rife, voice of the Barton Cougars. Attending sporting events for Barton Community College is great, but did you know you can support the athletic teams even further by getting involved with the Cougar Booster Club? The Boosters help with fundraising for equipment and facility upgrades to give Barton athletes every opportunity to keep succeeding at the regional and national levels. Join the Cougar Booster Club as an individual or business. Call 620-792-9377. Become a booster today. Go Cougars.
Welcome back to 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM for Sports Day. Aaron Clark filling in for Steve Webster, reminding you that Sports Day is brought to you in part by Equity Bank. We're right here beside you at equitybank.com. It's also brought to you in part by Venture Corporation, reminding you to help a neighbor and shop local when you can. All proud sponsors of a Sports Day. The College Football National Championship title bout is set. We're going to have the Washington Huskies taking on the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan getting a 27-20 victory over Alabama in the Rose Bowl last night, while the Washington Huskies defeated Texas 37-31 in the Sugar Bowl. We've got the post-game press conference with Washington head coach Kalen DeBoer. Go ahead and give this a listen. He'll give you a rundown on how his Husky squad got here.
Fired up because their Huskies are on to the title game. Kalen DeBoer kind enough to join us after that remarkable win. And, Coach, thank you so much for coming out to visit with us here. I find it interesting. The Michigan game and your game come down to a play that had to be made by the defense. Their defense is kind of their rep, right? You're more known for your offense. How pleased are you for your defense that they were the ones that had to stand tall and walk you off that field as winners tonight?
Yeah, you know, they've had to do it quite a few times this year. Our offense does a lot, and I know they get a lot of attention, and as they should, but our defense has had to make timely plays and come through in big moments. And so super proud of them. You know, I think all the experiences we've had came through even tonight on that last drive. Just staying in the battle and you know, continue to keep the faith.
You mentioned that on the field, and now one more time with me here, that you've been through these moments. You've been in close games. Is that what allows you, Kalen, to maintain the kind of demeanor, at least outwardly, where you seem incredibly calm in moments where I would be a puddle?
Yeah, I mean, it's intense, right? But, you know, I think what to do, you just got to stay sharp and you got to stay focused on the main thing, and that's just continuing to, you know, just keep coaching. And I think my demeanor is important in carrying that on with our players and our staff. And so been through it a lot of times, and just, you know, making sure that, you know, we just focus on the next play. And the highs and the lows of the game, can't get up and caught up in the emotions of it. Just take care of what you can control.
Heard the story. Sean McDonough talked about it. February, it's cold. You look out and your guys are out there outside practicing. And it was hard enough for you to get that thing in your ear, and now those guys knock it out, right? But the story.
Yeah, I know. It's all good.
The story about your guys in February in the cold, and they came back for this, and all of that makes for a great, you know, story and made-for-TV movie. But, like, real-life stuff has to happen, right, Kalen? Like, through summer, through the fall. It just doesn't happen because everybody wants it to, because it's hard as hell to win. What's the fabric of this group? What's the DNA of this group that shows itself time and time again?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. And that's what we talked about after the game is a year ago. So many guys made sacrifices and just, really made commitments to each other. And, a lot of people do that, right? In life, in sports. And these guys, they just every single day brought their absolute best. And that was the challenge just over and over again that I and the staff just continue to put in front of them is, are you looking back on today and did you just get through it or did you bring out the best in yourself and did you make our team better? And so, again, they've done that. I thought this last month, it can be long. And we tried to put a schedule together where they could stay fresh and stay sharp and we could build up to this day. But, credit to them, as the week went on this week, you could just feel like just a locked in focus and the energy wasn't over the top. The emotions weren't over the top. The work was there and it supported the goals that they had and set forth a year ago when, again, most of these guys made commitments and sacrifices, maybe not to move on to the NFL, stick around and try to finish the job.
There's a saying in this game, and you've made your rep as a play caller on offense, right? There's a saying, players, not plays. When you got a player like Michael Penix, how much easier does that make it to dial up a play?
Yeah, I think many times, even tonight, but over the course of Michael's 2 years here, you just always want to make sure that 9 has a chance to make a play for you. Get 9 the ball. And a lot of times, when drives stall, you kind of look back on it and you're like, man, okay, did we give 9 enough chance, to go out there and win that drive and get points on the board or win the football game? And so, he just does an amazing job of every play, just putting so much pressure on the defense. And, you have to keep it in attack mode. And I think that's the thing I love about what we do. We attack in a lot of different ways. It's our mindset, and I think that carries over to the defense too, and they come out there and attack and do their part every single week.
I know many programs allow the 24-hour rule to enjoy the moment. I don't have that luxury because I'm not working tomorrow night, and you and I won't be talking. So I need to ask you now about Michigan, just because that's who you play next. Just your first thought about what it will be like to share the field with them and what it will require next Monday.
Yeah, we understand. You get to the Final Four, and it's one thing. You get to a national championship. It's the best of the best. These guys have been through everything that we've been through. Their game today, going into overtime, they're resilient as well. And, I think from our own standpoint, I can feel it in our team. We've adopted kind of one of the slogans is "Job's not done," and this was quite a few weeks ago. I just think that even in the locker room right now, the emotions are great. We're excited, but, it's not over the top. I think maybe earlier in the year, we had a game where that happened, Oregon at home, I think, was an emotional game. A lot of people just loving what we accomplished. I don't think we got caught up in ourselves, but a lot of emotion, and then the carryover, just trying to be our best the next week maybe didn't happen. I think ever since then, we've understood, hey, job's not done, next game, moving forward. And, I think we've learned a lot about ourselves and how to handle these situations when we get these big wins.
I'll close with a final thought. Everyone has a journey in life, right, Kalen? And yours I find really, really interesting. And I appreciate that you're a leader of a team, and I appreciate that it's a program that takes the field representing Washington. But when you walk out on the field Monday, just for you, how much of Sioux Falls you bring with you and the journey that really started on a football field in South Dakota? How much of that you bring with you to Texas and a chance to win a national title?
Yeah, we all have our journeys, and in particular mine, that's a piece. I think a lot of it's the experiences, and from a coaching standpoint, one of the things that I just love about a national championship game is this is your last game. That's the hard part about a playoff. And having experienced it so many years, you just don't know when you go into a game, if this is going to be it. And you don't think that way. You don't want to think that way. but that is reality. And the best thing about playing in a national championship game is this is the last one. And your guys that are seniors and guys that are moving on with their lives and careers, they're just going to sell out here these last 7 days to do something special together. Enjoy the moment, but man, let's take advantage of what the position is that we've put ourselves in.
You know what I love so much about sports, Kalen, is that both sides woke up hoping for 60 more minutes of football, and you appreciate the disappointment on the Texas side, but your guys earned the 60 you get next week. Enjoy them, man. Make them count. I appreciate you taking a minute with me tonight. Congratulations on the win. Happy New Year.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you.
Community bankers should actually know your community. Hi, I'm Zach Strite, commercial lender for Equity Bank. As someone who lives here, I know many of you, and I know what's important to you. I've been in the industry a long time, and I've helped many navigate through financial challenges and lead them to financial opportunities. I believe that people bank with people. I'd like to invite you to stop by one of our region's 5 locations and meet our friendly, helpful staff. Let us show you our commitment to serving you and our communities. At Equity Bank, we're right here beside you. Member FDIC.
Attention high school juniors. Explore your career paths at Barton Community College's Junior Day on February 14th. This fun and free day features an on-campus tour, giveaways, yard games, pizza, and did we mention $3,000 in scholarships will be up for grabs. Learn about a variety of career paths, some of which can get you into the workforce and making money in just one semester. Sign up online now through February 1st at juniorday.bartoncccc.edu.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text KETTLE to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text KETTLE to 321-321. That's KETTLE to 321-321.
It's Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department.
Welcome back into 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM as we are wrapping up Sports Day. It's the first show of 2024. I'd like to remind everyone that Sports Day is brought to you in part by Barton Community College. Train for a new career at Barton Community College in areas like carpentry, network security, or pharmacy tech. Learn more at gobarton.com. You can also get ahead with online or dual credit classes or earn a certificate or associate degree while in high school. A lot to talk about here with the semifinals for the college football playoffs. Our bowl pick'em has boiled down to just one game now, and we've got a lot of results to talk about. We'll start with our little Sports Day boys contest here first. Pretty close there at the top. Corson, you've taken over the top spot. You've got 28 points. You got a plus 12. You got 12 points over the New Year break. That's pretty all right. I'm behind you by 1 point. I've got 27 along with Jim Masunis. I matched you, though, on that hot streak. We both got plus 12 points there. Masunis, he got plus 8, so he's sitting with 27 points. Hesher, not bad, just below 10 points. Coming in with plus 9. He's sitting at 25 points for the contest now. And Webby, well, we're still keeping track, but he's at 17. So he's tagging along for the ride.
Remember, it was a big deal. We had to vote whether to count his earlier games.
Yeah, apparently it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Yeah. But I am glad that we did. That way we got to track and see how he is doing, because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten this valuable knowledge. The fun part is with the big swing, those plus 3. Each semifinal game was worth 3 points. We had some fun swings in the total listings. 29 points is now the threshold needed for first place, and we've got 5 people tied for first. Kurt Kennedy, you're still there. You were there last week in first place. You had a pretty good New Year's. Yep. 10 points at 29. But then 4 new faces to the leaderboard here for the Bull Pick'em. Lane Lendenberger, you've got 29. Matthew Finger, then a familiar of the show, old Craig Fletchall. He's got 29 points after a good weekend for himself. And then rounding out the quintet vying for first place, vying for the 50-inch TV, it's a Vince Freeze. I'm not sure what the tiebreak is. I believe we have one in store, but I figure a good way to do it is just each of you get a 10-inch TV. Rather than one person get a 50, we'll just give each of you a 10. We'll have to work that out, see how we want to do that.
Landon was over here cutting straws, so we might have a short straw contest.
Also a pretty sizable matchup for second place there in the overall contest. 4 people tied at 28. That group includes Gregory Hickle. He is familiar to the leaderboard. But then 3 new faces, Gavin Klug, Terry Showalter, and Garrett Fitzpatrick, all with 28 points. Fun group there. And you might have went in checking earlier today to the Bull Pick'em looking to make your pick. Wasn't up. That is up now. Noon today it went live. Let's go in there, make sure you have your pick, get it in, vote. It was a tale of 2 upsets, according to our pickers. In the Rose Bowl, only 44% of people picked Michigan to beat Alabama. And then it was even worse in the Sugar Bowl, as only 32% of our voters thought that the Huskies would get the better of the Longhorns. A little bit there to go off of. Who knows what's going to happen in the championship matchup. But, Corson, I know where your vote's going to be.
No, actually, I like to be right more than I like Washington, so I don't want to pick Michigan because I don't like them, but man, I think they're a tough football team.
I'll tell you straight, I am going Michigan for the game. I think they're good, especially as good as they looked against Alabama. As a testament to them, if their defense can get after Michael Penix Jr. the same way they got after Milroe, it'll be fun to see. But you have your results for how you did over New Year's.
Yeah, I was going to say these semifinal games were 3 points each, so you'll have to go in to your page, go to the round 2, and you can click, and it's 5 points. So some weight on it. Be curious to see how the tie will be broken.
And so even if you're not in the top 2 leaderboard right now, if you have 25 points and no one else gets it right, you get 30, you still win that TV.
What's the strategy there? Because Michigan is I haven't seen the Vegas, but Michigan probably a decent favorite. Do you pick Washington just to maybe collect 5 points?
You got
who
knows? You got to think if you want to game it, if you don't want to game it, how your strategies are going to go. I think we both got 12 points over the New Year break, but you managed to get both semifinals.
Are you saying
right.
I did it the easy way?
Well, or maybe because Steve Webster was saying these are the games where you have to actually know football, and you ended up getting one of the last ones right. I don't know.
I know my football. Here's some I did not know. 79% though, so I was in the big group. Well, they picked Notre Dame and Notre Dame won. I was in the minority that picked Oregon State in a 40-8 game.
That was the biggest bowl game in Notre Dame history over the Oregon State Beavers. Not too big of an indictment on Oregon State. Not only did they lose their starting quarterback, but their head coach has also taken a different job elsewhere. Does bring us to DJ Uiagalelei, the former Clemson quarterback, had transferred to Oregon State. He'll now be back in the Southeast as he's announced his transfer to Florida State.
A couple of the other ones, Ohio State, 75% picked him. They lose to Missouri 14-3. 84% picked Iowa State, getting upset by Memphis.
I was in that one. I didn't have Memphis taking that victory. And originally when I looked at ESPN on my phone, they had it wrong. They had Iowa State 36, Memphis 26, and so I was excited for a second. But
and here's a big one. 10% picked Florida State in the biggest drubbing in bowl history.
That 10% may have even been a little high, but 27 players sitting out for him. Tough without Jordan Travis. That is our show, though. Come back tomorrow. I'll be here again with the boys, same as usual. Steve Webster he'll be out until Thursday, so stick around. We'll have more Sports Day here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Your home for Great Bend Sports, Barton Sports, everything sports. It's Sports Day.